Hi, ako si Dr. Anna Tuazon, isang psychologist at professor at kakwentuhan niyo sa Share Ko Lang. Ngayon, makakausap natin ang aktres na gumawa ng nakakatawang commercial tungkol sa obsession ng mga Pinoy sa pagpapaputi. Here's the loud and proud morena, Chai Fonacier. Pat, go brown! Pat, pat, go brown, go brown!
Kasi yung kwento ni Mommy noon, pinaglihi daw niya ako sa singkamas. So that's why it was very hard for me growing up really fair-skinned. I'd be bullied, people would laugh at me, sometimes would use my reflector for school shoots, yung ganon. I started taking care of myself and I started using packs. Tapos biglang dumami yung offers ko.
It was really coming from an anger towards not the fair-skinned people, because fair-skinned, being fair-skinned is okay, being brown-skinned is okay. It's not the color of your skin, it's the system that's wrong.
From a child development standpoint, no, we are not born naturally shameful of how we look. This is something I talk about all the time. Diba? Shame is not, did not come from inside the individual. It came from outside, telling you they don't like you, they don't approve of you. Right?
Yeah, I would get those comments na parang, and then nananahimik lang ako, babasa ko ng script habang nag-makeup. And then, some person would walk in and say, ay, talaga to si Chai, ano to siya, ganun, cherva. Tapos, ang ganda ng skin niya, mabenta sa foreigner. Or some other comment na parang, Chai, hindi lang kang plano magpa-retoke, magpa-ilong. Sabi ko, wait, where did that come from? Where in the hell did that come from? I didn't ask you anything. I was just studying my script, and then all of a sudden that comment on your physique, and it's not just it extends to like many things, not just the skin color, but really lalo sa katawan ng babae. As in, marang ang daming gustong mangialam sa, teka, katawan ko to, ba't kayo comment ng comment? Okay lang naman ako, my body is functioning really, really well. It's serving me really well.
So, hindi talaga maaalis that, some people will insist on setting standards, right? Like maybe some industry, maybe an employer, set standards. At least sana walang may monopoly sa beauty standards, right? That there's only a few people, one particular group of people that determines what other people should see as beauty.
I know a lot of actors are really, really good. But because they don't fit the physical mold, the physical requirements, the unspoken physical requirements of what one ought to be, so that they can be accepted to certain roles, or they're relegated to best friend roles. Not that I'm complaining about best friend roles. Those are, as an actor, those are really interesting roles for me. Then we have a visual narrative that shows us that only fair-skinned people can be the bida in stories, and ang brown-skinned people are the support. Kung maging bida yung brown, kailangan nakakatawa ka. Kailangan funny ka. Or kailangan aping-api ka talaga. I would say na messaging that we're telling each other. It's so sad we're teaching each other these things on TV and in mainstream film. And it's dangerous. There's so many kids that watch these shows. What do we do?
What we're teaching children, what we're teaching people is that ultimately, the lead is the interesting person. If the lead is always fair-skinned, and then it's the fair-skinned people we are interested in, that we care about, right? Society, film, TVs are telling us this is the person you should care about. I know that aside from being a very accomplished film actress, TV actress, singer, songwriter, diba? Talagang you talk a lot about colorism, the pressures, right, of the Western beauty standards. Sabihin na natin, maputi, diba? Mukhang mestiza. And I know you're Cebuana, and I know in Cebu there's a lot of, diba, that stereotype, that pressure of the Cebuana mestiza. What your actual experience was growing up.
When I was, I think, maybe 5 or 4, because my mom's neighbors/friends, would start commenting on my skin. Hala, brown lagi siya, no? With that little marites tone, and I'm like, and even as a child, you could hear it. Like, is there something wrong with me? And then that's when I started comparing myself to my sister who is fair-skinned. I grew up feeling like keeping that insecurity a secret, really, actually, because I didn't want to appear weak or anything, but it affected me inside growing up. Like I would look at my older sister, look at my tita who's using all of these whitening products, maybe apply some of that lotion on myself just to try to see if it works on me. But then my mom caught me. All right, if my mom says so, okay, I'll try. But the insecurity really was there, and I would keep that secret. I wouldn't tell anybody that I don't like my skin. I wouldn't say it verbally, but it was there.
It makes sense for a lot of people to feel disempowered first. And so I'm curious about your journey, diba? Were you always this confident and empowered about who you are and, you know, in your skin? And where was that turning point?
Back in college, I saw a billboard here in Cebu, and it said, Cutis Filipina or something. I was in the jeepney and was looking up at that billboard, and I was like, Cutis Filipina, but everybody's fair. Where does that put me? This is a very insulting ad. Are you telling me I'm not Filipina? I'm gonna check my birth certificate. See, look at my birth certificate. I'm Filipina. I was able to get this opportunity to kind of process that thought creatively and say, no, wait, we cannot be doing these advertisements that tells everybody sino lang yung Cutis Filipina at sino yung hindi, diba? You know, it's time to like fight this very unhealthy messaging. I don't want little girls and boys to experience what I experienced growing up. You know, I don't want them to be judged just by the color of their skin. Can you imagine this mass insecurity, $1 billion industry of whitening, making money out of mass insecurity? Yung malawakang insecurity natin, yun yung pinagkikitaan nila ng pera, hindi nakaka-insulto yun.
So, that's even worse, eh, 'di ba? Parang they're really exaggerating. 'Di ba? Uso naman yan sa advertising, 'di ba? The created need.
I guess that turning point really was that ad. Just I got mad because I know very well that I belong in this society we call the Filipino society, and yet this ad says otherwise. I will not be insulted. So it felt like rebelling against something that I was taught by society. And then the more that I found other shared experiences with other people, shared experience is also very empowering when you find the others who have the same or similar experiences with you. And then to kind of sort of provide like support for each other, really, and trying to understand these. Yung issue na to isn't, like we said at the beginning, it isn't treated with a lot of seriousness, because nga, it's all about your physical aspect, panglabas na anyo, etc.
Get that golden glow with Pax Browning Soap. It contains the essence of theobroma cacao, L-tyrosine, melanin, and the core being of your pre-Hispanic ancestors, making you a gorgeously natural bronze goddess in just one whack.
Only Pax brownens my skin. Who browns yours?
The more that I looked into the stories of other people, and the more that I looked into the whitening and the beauty industry and at large, the more that I found out this is not just an issue of pagiging maarte or whatever. It is actually also a public health concern, because you have what I learned in my journey is that you have a whole bunch of people who are insecure about their skin, but also in that whole bunch of people, huge portion of that cannot afford expensive treatments. Where do they go? They go to yung mga smuggled na mga products na hindi dumaan sa kamay ng mga eksperto. So you have a whole bunch of people that are actually poisoning themselves just because of this need and this want to become fairer, because of the perceptions that we have attached to that shade of brown.
One of the markers of being mentally healthy is at the core of it all, you like who you are. It doesn't mean you like every single thing, right? That you wouldn't change every single thing. But the core essence, if I may borrow from your commercial, right? The core being, you like your core being, right? That's why when you said, hindi siya mababaw na issue Parang for me as a psychologist, talaga, hindi talaga. Diba? Kasi if something as simple as your skin color can make you hate yourself, right? Can make you think you're less worthy than other people. Tapos sabi mo nga, if it will make you go to desperate measures, maybe some things that can harm you or that can really eat up your financial resources, right? You got to ask yourself, what am I doing this for? It's internal, but it's been placed there.
Each century, iba ang tingin nilang maganda. Nag-iiba talaga siya. Every decade nga, nag-iiba siya. Pero beauty standards in terms of like physical beauty, what would be an imagined world that andun pa rin yung appreciation for beauty, pero inclusive. Inclusive siya. Hindi siya yung parang maglalagay ka lang ng brown skin sa poster mo as a token representation of the brown skin people, pero all the other four models are puro mapuputi naman. No? Parang pang-contrast lang si ate mo girl na brown. Parang ang weird naman yun. Pero something, I guess, yun nga, mas inclusive siya at kita na mas inclusive siya. Kita sa messaging, kita sa entertainment, kita sa the way we view ourselves ultimately, na parang, ang maganda siya kasi fair skin siya. Ito rin, maganda rin, brown skin siya, kanang bagay, ganit. Alam mo yung ganun siya, tapos it doesn't affect our job opportunities. It's so unfair to miss out on opportunities, on economic or job opportunities, just because of the skin that you didn't even choose to begin with. So, naghahanap ka na ng trabaho, tapos gagastos ka pa for whitening para just so people will treat you better and, give you a better job opportunity. That's really unfair on yourself, on your pocket. What about my skills, Henny? Look at my skills. My skills are not on my skin. Diba?
Prejudice doesn't have to be really conscious and front of mind. So I think this is what a lot of people mistake. So sabi nila, hindi ako prejudiced kasi hindi ko naman naisip yan. In a way, the fact na hindi mo siya naisip is part of the problem. At an individual level siguro, no? Kasi parang hindi masyadong overwhelming. Kasi that's the reason ko. I feel riled up and I'm also starting to think, what can I do? Ang laki, systemic problem. So, what would you advise people to do, just for themselves or even just in their sphere of influence, right?
If you go on online shopping sites, there are a lot of small to medium businesses that are coming up that are specifically catering to the morena. And so these brands started saying, what if I make my own line? And then I create a shade that's good for me and my fellow brown skinned people. So there are these brands that are coming up. So explore them and then see how that makes you feel good, because finally you have a shade that fits your skin color. It's such an experience to find the right skin color, as the right foundation for your skin color. That's one little thing that you can do for yourself, and it's also fun. Sabi nga nila, radical na pagmamahal. Radical lang magmahal. Radical din ang mahalin ang sarili. Ganon siya. And share your experiences with your fellow brown skin people, or just in general, just share experiences with each other and give each other like tips on how to feel good about yourselves, feel good about your skin. Another thing is also to be conscious of the language that we use when we describe brown. Let's not make jokes even for your friends, because alam mo yung biruan ng mga kaibigan na hindi, joke lang naman eh. Jokes are there because they stem from some sort of truth or some sort of experience. Not truth. They stem from some sort of judgment. Words are powerful, and if words are powerful, extend tayo dun sa stories. Individual words are powerful. How much more stories and storytelling? So share your stories.
I'm a big believer dun sa, that stories determine our culture. Diba? They have power. Kahit shorts, diba? Kahit kanta is a story, right? Songs are stories. Paintings, visual art are stories also in their own way. And of course, diba, TV, film, books, these are all stories.
That's the one story that we are all suffering from. And that creates stereotypes. Stereotypes are dangerous. That's where judgment comes from. And that's where discrimination then comes from. I think as a person who is involved in storytelling, like you, I believe that stories are very, very powerful. And so I hope that we tell each other better stories. Because the better stories that we tell each other.
So maybe what people can do, kung anong pwede nilang gawin, is to simply keep sharing your stories. Keep sharing your lived experience, right? If we find that the stories don't represent us, don't represent our community, diba? Parang keep sharing. It doesn't have to be that everyone becomes a filmmaker or an author, but just simply mean don't be afraid to share your story with others, with your friends. And the more we hear other people's stories, I think that's what makes us better people. Diba? Kasi when we hear from someone else, other than ourselves, other than our very limited, diba? Social circles, for example. So the more stories we hear, diba? Then the more context. There's actually a therapy called narrative therapy. And sabi nila, what defines a healthy person is if this person has a rich narrative of themselves. And what is rich narrative? Hindi flat, hindi black and white, hindi bida contra bida, right? It's like a very rich, multidimensional, many factors. Diba? Now, there's nothing really simple. Diba? Wala naman in life. Kasi if you think about it, it's a flat or thin narrative, the idea na, okay, kung maputi lang ako, aasenso ako. Right?
Yeah.
And stereotypes are also flat and thin narratives, right? Yun ang totoong superficial. So thank you so much, Chai. Thank you so much of your time.
No problem.
I really appreciate your thoughts and insights.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And I hope a lot of people hear what we talked about. This was a very fruitful conversation, I feel like. I feel a little more enriched.
Kung may gusto kayong pag-usapan, mag-iwan lang ng comment below. Or email us at sharekolang@gmanews.tv. We're also streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.